So good morning. So this morning we'll be discussing about justice since our descriptive title, Peace, Justice, and Moral Values. So natapos na yung peace but actually justice is a continuation. So last meeting I share with you about the environmental care. So this one justice is under the issue on the human rights in the culture of peace, if you still remember the culture of peace. So what about this justice? So this justice comes from the Latin word justitia, then which means joining or fitting or of bound or tie. So that's the etymological meaning and literal meaning of the word justitia, in which justice comes from. Then the concept of justice has been analyzed and defined in the different philosophers, political thinkers, economists, sociologists, as well as religious leaders. It has been changing from time to time depending upon the conditions and circumstances prevailing in its age. So, nagdepende talaga yan. Then, it has to coordinate and draw a harmonious balance between rights and duties of people living in the society. And it is also connected with the moral, social, political, economic, and the legal relations of an individual with others. So that's all about the so-called as introductory part of justice. Then, move on. Justice is a concept also of moral rightness based on its ethics, rationality, law, religion, equality, and fairness. According to John Rawls, claims that justice is the first virtue of social institutions as truth is of systems of thought. That's according to John Rawls. So marami pa yung susunod na sasabihin si Rawls. So another definition. Justice is a habit which makes a man capable of doing what is just. So makes a man capable of doing what is just and of being just in action and in intention. So in the other word, as a person, you also give to the other person what is due to that person. Then once again, John Rawls said that justice is the first virtue of social institution. So justice is also a virtue, and we know what is virtue. So as truth is a system of thought, then the perpetual and constant will to render of to each one his right. Then justice is also an action in accordance with the requirements of some law. Then it is often used interchangeably with the word fairness. So justice is also often it can be fairness. If you are fair, you have to give the person what is due to that person. To continue, because we have the desire of equality and fairness, issuance, the assurance of justice is usually a prerequisite for a good society. So if you want good society, if you want peace, there must be justice. Then, for leaders to have legitimacy among his or her constituents, he or she must find ways to ensure that the laws of the land are just and administered justly. Okay, when it comes to law, it should be just and administered justly. Then, for the offenders, ito. Justice means that crimes don't go unpunished, but also the punishment fits to the crime. For a victim, justice may be seeing a criminal put behind bars, or it may be monetary. The goal is to make the victim feel equal again. I'll cite you an example. When my mother was hit by the motorcycle, and of course namatay yung nanay ko because of that accident, to give what is due to my nanay, I file a case against kung sino yung bumangga. Then, medyo matagal yung kaso, 1 year, kasi ayaw magbayad. Pero marami mga lapses. So, ganun yung batas. But, after a year, justice has been served to my nanay. So, nagbayad sila. So, yung mga tipong ganon. Sabi nga, the goal is to make the victim feel equal again. Although, hindi na mabalik yung buhay, but to give justice sa mga ginawang pagkakamali sa batas. So, dapat magbayad. Okay. Then, justice ensures that people receive their fair share of goods available. Yun ang problema din dito. Saan ang hustisya? One time, I was still in the university. Namigay kami ng relief goods doon sa gera-gera sa Dato Piang. May mga estudyante ako doon, then sumisigaw yung iba. Sir, wag ninyong ibigay sa mga barangay officials, hindi makakarating yan sa amin. Nasaan ang hustisya? Ang ginawa namin, pinapila namin sila. Now, another example dito. Kaya sabi, ensure that people receive fair share. What about SAP? You know that one. What about yung 4-piece? You know that one. Nasaan ang hustisya? That's a big question mark. Okay? Kung kaalyado kita, member ka ng 4-piece kahit na hindi ka mahirap. Kung hindi kita kaalyado, kawawa ka. Politics, that's a problem. Saan ang hustisya? Then, sabi nga that people receive fair treatment from society's institution. Meron bang fair treatment? Extrajudicial killing, kung maniwala man kayo, nangyayari. Nag-surrender na yung tao, but what happened? May fair treatment ba? Wala. Automatic, patayin na lang. Nasaan ang hustisya? So, yun yung sigaw ng mga taong yung pinapatay na very yung common lahat. Pinatay, iwanan ng 38. Sunod-sunod yan. Then, kung sinong pumatay, magsasabi, kasamahan lang nila yon. Walang pulis na umamin na pinatay nila yon. Look at the point there. Fair treatment. Then that people's action conform to the rules of fair play. Walang fair play. The extrajudicial killing, you know that one. Then, and that any injustices are adequately addressed. Na-address kaya yung mga injustisyang ginawa. That's the point there. Okay? Then, in understanding justice, we have the so-called justice also harmony. Justice as harmony. According to Plato, the definition of justice is that justice is having and doing of what is one's own. Okay? Having and doing of what is one's own. Kung sa kanya yun. Huwag mong pakialaman. Kung binigyan ka, okay lang. Okay? Pag nagpakialam ka na hindi sa'yo, walang hustisya yun. Then, a just man is a man in just the right place, doing the best and giving one's precise equivalent of what he has received. This applies both in the individual level as well as the universal level. Ayan, fairness. Kung binigyan ang isa, binigyan lahat, dapat pantay-pantay. Okay? Hindi yung may pabor-pabor. Kasi pag meron yan, wala talagang hustisya. Next. Justice is also a divine command. Take note. Justice is a divine command. Justice is a divine law. Is commanding, and indeed, for the whole of morality, it is an authoritative command. God embodies these laws and is therefore neither higher nor lower than the law. He sets the example for the good people among men to follow his way and also become an embodiment of the highest principles and morals. So if it is coming from God, so it's a command coming from God. So therefore, lahat tayo susundin natin yon in a fair way. But minsan ang tao, hinahawakan ng hustisya, kalimutan si God. That's the problem. Okay? Kaya nga, it's not anymore, justice not anymore a divine command. So from our Creator. Then, justice is also a natural law, as natural law. Take note. It involves the system of consequences that naturally derives from the actions and choice. It is similar to the laws of physics, in same way to the third of Newton's law of motion. So it's natural. Then justice requires, according to individuals or group, what they actually deserve, merit, or are entitled to. Then it is also the account. On this account, justice on this account is universal and absolute concept. The laws, the principles, the religion are merely attempts to codify the concept, sometimes with results that entirely contradict to the true nature of justice. So since if it is part of the natural law, kagayong binanggit kay Newton as well as sa physics, so nandyan na, it's part of nature. Itong justice na ito. Okay. Then ito, justice as human recreation. It may be understood as a human recreation rather than a discovery of harmony, divine command, and natural law. So it's just a human recreation. Then it is also a mutual agreement. Justice is derived from the mutual agreement of everyone concerned, or in any versions, from what they would agree to under the hypothetical conditions including equality and absence of biases. Okay? Mutual agreement. If it is mutual agreement, so pantay-pantay pa rin siya. Kasi mutual nga. Then there are types of justice. The distributive or the economic justice. What about this distributive justice? It refers to the extent to which society's institution ensure that the benefits and burdens are distributed among society's members in ways that are fair and just. Fair and just. Some possible criteria of distributions are equality, equity, and need. Fair and just, equally distributed to the members of the society. If it is equally, walang magreklamo yan. But in a real life, kung may mga benepisyo man yan, we know that it's not equally distributed. So there is something wrong in reality when you talk about the distributive or economic justice. Sabi ko, malinaw ang SAP. Malinaw ang SAP. Minsan nga, doble-doble mga paryente, isang bahay lang. Kaya nga ngayon, nilipat na doon, hindi na ibigay, diretso na doon sa Cebuana, Imlolier na. Ano ay? Kasi doon man ang pabor-pabor, walang hustisya doon sa paglilistan sa barangay. Then another one, the compensatory justice. Justice refers to the extent to which people are fairly compensated for the injuries by those who have injured them. Just compensation is proportionally to the loss inflicted on that person. So an example with this, I think few months ago, napansin doon sa Polytechnic ang haba-habang pila. Kaya nga sabi doon, they will receive thousands of money to give justice to those who are victims during the Marcos era. Yung biktima ng martial law. I think thousands of people there nakapila. Noticed that one few months ago in our school. So, ano nangyari? Binigyan. I think how many thousands? Malaking thousands yun. So, that's under compensatory justice. Para yung biktima, binabayaran. Okay? But the danger now, mag-run si Marcos Bongbong, baka manalo din. But during that time, Bongbong was aware of what is happening during martial law. Anong ginawa sa tatay niya. Pero until today, walang sincerity, walang nagsorry sa kanila. Magnanakaw sila, pati si Imelda, alam niyo yung mga shoes, wala pa rin nagsorry, walang sincerity. pero namamayagpag pa sila ngayon sa politika. That's very dangerous. Take note on that. Although compensatory, hindi naman lahat nabigyan yon. Kasi ngayon marami pa rin nagreklamong biktima na hindi nabigyan. Okay? Another type, retributive or corrective justice, refers to the extent to which a punishment are fair and just. So retributive naman when it comes to punishment. Those who do not play by the rules should be brought to justice and deserve to suffer penalties and for their transgressions. Play a central role in legal proceedings, responding to violations of international law and human rights and war crimes adjudication. So once again itong corrective or retributive justice, punishment given which punishments are fair and just to those who play the rules should be brought to justice and deserve to suffer. So, kung ano yung crime mo, dapat ito yung katumbas ng pagbabayaran mo. Okay, to give justice. That's retributive. Then what about social justice? Later, at the end of this, mayroon tayo sa mga last slides natin about social justice, may elaboration in the Filipino way. Social justice means being entitled to the same rights and services as all other citizens. Ano ka itong social justice? Especially to the poor. Then later, we'll discuss that one later. May type tayo dyan. Then the next is procedural justice. Is concerned with making and implementing decisions according to their fair process that ensure fair treatment. Rules must be impartially followed and consistently applied in order to generate an unbiased decision. Aywan lang, ang ganda ng definition, procedural justice. Like for example, nasaan ang hustisya? In our barangay, malaman lang natin, nakasemento na. Wala namang consultation sa mga tao. May project na. Mabigla na lang tayo. Nasaan ang hustisya? Tapos makasulat yan, millions from the government. Tapos look at the kalsada. Is that procedural? Ilang meters lang kalsada pero million pinag-usapan. Look at in our barangay. Nasaan ang hustisya dyan? Okay? Then another definition, ito na yung sinabing na dagdag kay John Rawls, is first virtue of social institution, nabasa natin kanina. Then, as truth is to system of thought, then a theory, however elegant and economical, must be rejected or revised if it is untrue. Likewise, laws and institutions, no matter how efficient and well arranged, must be reformed if they are unjust. So, there is a need to reform sa mga batas if it is unjust. That's according to John Rawls. By the way, John Rawls was a philosopher. Okay? Then another definition, modified definition naman ito ng justice. Justice is a concept of moral rightness based on ethics, rationality, law, natural law, religion, equity, or fairness. Then, as well as the administration of the law, taking into the account inalienable and inborn rights of all human beings and citizens, the right of all people and individuals to equal protection before the law of their civil rights, without discrimination on the basis of race, gender, sexual orientation, gender identity, national origin, color, ethnicity, religion, disability, age, or other characteristics, and is further regarded as being inclusive of social justice. So yon, when it comes to civil rights, the gender, sexual orientation, that's inclusive to the so-called social justice. Especially nowadays in our community, the so-called LGBTQI community, na trending yan kahit saan, all over the world. So they have their justice. They want fairness in their life. They don't want discrimination kasi sabi na we are discriminated when it comes to work. When it comes to other aspect of life, they are being discriminated. Kaya nga, they are now asserting their rights to give them justice. Okay? Kaya nga tayo, minsan, we are very biased. Our religion will tell us that God created man and a woman and no other else. Remember, sinabi ni Pacquiao, mas masahol pa sila sa hayop. Buti pa ang hayop, pag hindi hit si babae, hindi na may milit. Samantalang ang tao, given the intellect and will by the Creator, gustong magtalik, lalaki, babae. Maraming nagre-react. At the end of the day, nagsusuri din sa Pacquiao. Kasi, sabi nga, saan ang hustisya, yun sigaw nila. Then, to the other different definitions of justice, according to Merriam, justice consists of the system of understanding and procedures through which each is accorded with what is agreed upon as fair. So pare-pareho lang din according to Merriam. Doon pa yung fair. Then si Barker naman sabi na justice is a reconciler and the synthesis of political values. It is a union in an unjusted and integrated whole. So unjusted and created union. Ibig sabihin, nandoon pa rin yung pagkapantay-pantay. Then according to Simon, from each according to his capacity to each according to his need. So yun yung sinasabi ko, give a person what is due to that person. That yung pinupunto ni Simon. So another definition, fast track lang natin to kasi pare-pareho lang man. Yan. Take note. Kaya na magbasa. Justice is peace, a genuine respect of people, justness, fair-mindedness, equitableness, lack of bias, lack of prejudice, open-mindedness, non-partisanship. So you look at that one. That's a definition. Then another thing, it's a legal and philosophical theory by which fairness is administered. The concept of justice in every different culture. There are characteristics of justice. First is for the good of human welfare. Alam natin yan. For ethical concept. We know what is ethics. Okay, what is ethics? The goodness and the rightness of one's action, and you have to avoid evil. Okay, and do good. So that's more ethical concept. Then, changeability. Sabi natin kanina, justice, nagdepende din sa time. Pwedeng nababago din yung definition. Then, fulfillment of reasonable interests. Then, performance of duties. Then, provide everybody his reasonable share. Ayan. So, papasok yung social justice. Then, justice related to values prevailing in a society. Kaya sabi natin, this is part of our course, peace, justice, and social moral values. Kasi sabi nga, justice is related to values prevailing in the society. The basic postulate of justice, take note of this. Truth, uniform values, equality before law. When you talk about equality before law, walang mahirap, walang mayaman. But in fact and in reality, sa Pilipinas, pag mayaman ka, matagal maitupad ang hustisya. Pag mahirap ka, convicted ka kaagad sa krimen. Alam ninyo yan. Yun ang problema sa Pilipinas. So yung equality before the law Alam natin yun, walang equality. Yung Bakho, ang patuan, massacre, nung nangyari, alam naman natin sinong nagmassacre. Ay yung nagbakho. Alam naman natin sino yung accountable. May hatol ba? Wala. Pero pag pobre ka, automatic may hatol yan. Reclusion perpetua. Life sentence. Pero ngayon, wala. Nandyan pa rin. Although nabilanggo, pero walang hatol. Yan, nasaan ang justisya? Is it equal between the rich and the poor? Ayun yung question. Liberty. That's another postulate. Impartiality. Respect of the individual's ability and capability. Problema nga, respect of individual's ability and capability, may problema din dyan. Kasi itong mga husgado natin, pagtingin na mahirap ka, kulang ang ganito mo, minapinipulate kanila. Kahit na ikaw ang tama, matatalo ka sa kaso. Then protective discrimination is not injustice. Then provision of rights. Fulfillment of basic needs. So that's a basic postulate. Then there are dimensions or kinds of justice or dimensions of justice. First is the legal dimensions. When we talk about legal dimension, hindi natin siguro yung isa-isahin, but we know what is legal. Nasa batas yan. If it is legal dimension. So that's under the law. May mga following conditions necessary to ensure legal justice. Ito yan. The just laws, equality before the law, yung sinabi na kanina, uniform legal system, impartiality, independent judiciary. Then, an unexpected and inefficient justice, the democratic organization, so more or less yun yung under the to ensure the legal justice. Then, political dimensions of justice naman, hindi siguro natin ito isa-isahin, pero kita man niyo dyan, universal, the right, ang dami dyan, mga right na yan, but we know sa political dimension. The more bright ang mga politician, the more wala ding hustisya. Nagka-problema kasi puro bright. Okay? Pero dapat hindi ganon. Then, the political justice stands for a free and fair participation of people in a political sphere. Dapat ganon. Then, universal franchise is expression of political justice. All liberal democracies countries are based on the principles of one man, one vote, one value is faithfully adopted. Political institutions should be representative in character. Ayun yung problema. Our representative, our politicians, nananalo dahil sa pandaraya. Kaya ilan lang yung nananalo na walang pandaraya. The rest ng daraya, bigyan ng ganito. At alam na alam natin yon. Nasaan ang justisya? Wala. That's in politics. What about social dimensions of justice? So in the social dimension of justice, marami din yan. So when we talk about social, this is more on our relationship. More on the relationship sa ating kapwa. Then the concept of social justice based on the belief that all human beings are equal and that no discrimination should be made on the ground of race, religion, the caste, the sex, place of birth. So, dapat ganun daw. No discrimination of race, religion. Pero yung iba, in the other countries, may discrimination of religion. Alam natin yun. If you are not with us, you are against us. Dapat you have to follow our religion. May discrimination. Okay, walang hustisya. And you know very well ano yung place na yun. Okay? Then it has three implications. Equal social opportunities. Dapat ganon. Special attention to the weaker section. Then removal of social evils. So I don't know kung kailan to matatanggal itong social evils when I talk about social justice. Then economic dimensions naman. Ano? About economy. Itong hustisya naman, economic dimensions. And that includes also yung mga sinasabi natin na the SAP, the 4Ps, and the rest, that's more economic. The livelihood. Okay, yung sa DTI natin, maraming natulungan. Pero may pabor-pabor ba? Mayroong pabor-pabor din yan, whether we like it or not. Kung malakas ka, may contact ka, at automatic makaproject ka, magkaroon ka ng benefits. Pag wala, problema yan. Walang hustisya. Kaya the following conditions of this economic justice yan. The right to work for everybody. Meron ba? Wala kang pinag-aralan, no way, makapagtrabaho ka. Kaya nga, now the studies shows na majority walang trabaho. Then fulfillment of basic needs. What are those basic needs? Food, clothing, shelter. But look at the city, mga big cities. Daming poor. And why? Bakit di tinulungan ng government? Ginagamit sila during the election for the vote. Bigyan lang pera, okay na. Then at the end, walang nangyayari. Natugon ng basic needs, wala. Okay? Then reduce wide economic disparities. I don't know kung paano yun ma-reduce. Protection the interests of the workers. Meron tayo siguro dyan. Pero minsan, may problema din yung mga union natin. Then just distribution of wealth. May problema dyan. Then end of economic exploitation. Another problem. Then special protection of the interests of the weaker section. Then limited rights to property. Fixed economic is better than equal wages for same job. Dapat sana equal wages for same job, pero sa atin wala. Sabi ni Duterte, pataasan sweldo sa aming mga teacher. Pero ano lang nagtaas? Every month, 1,000 plus. It depends to the rank. Mga doktor, mga master, mga teacher, nag-aral ng mabuti. Pero kumpara sa sundalo, mas mataas pang sweldo sa sundalo na high school graduate lang compared to the teachers. You know that one. O kahit na kayo, mga midwives. Okay? Mas mataas pang sweldo sa mga sundalo na high school graduate lang. Nasaan ang hustisya? Sabi niya na, teacher ang mama ko. Alam kong buhay ng mga teacher. Alam niya yun. Pobre ang teacher. Mga doktor, mga master, pero mas mataas pa yung high school graduate ang sweldo. That's the reality. Nasaan ang hustisya? Kasi maro man din si Duterte. Bakit? Kasi yun man yung kung sa Cebuano pag isaligan niya. Okay? Kaya nga pataasan. Wala na magyaw-yaw dyan. The police, college graduate. Hindi naman lahat. May mga master, may mga doktor man na police. But the majority, mas mataas pang sweldo nila sa mga doktor ng mga teacher. That's a problem. Okay? Kaya equals wages for same job, okay lang sana yon. Pero sa amin, hindi man same job. Pero kung nakasabak man sila, pero mas grabe ang mga teacher din. But well, that's part of the game. Then to conclude with justice, we can conclude that justice is concerned with human welfare and the protection of the reasonable interests, and it can be experienced only when each citizen will perform his duty in a right perspective. Then a just society is that society where every individual gets legal, political, social, economic justice. Then individual is the subject matter of this concept when I talk about justice. Tao talaga. Then what about this? In the Philippines, we have the so-called thinkers, Filipino social thinkers. You know Magsaysay, the former president, and you know Jokno. Okay? Anong sinasabi nila when they talk about social justice? Ito yung sinabi ni John Rawls. Yan, sabi na natin kanina, procedural social justice, a fair procedure, the best guarantee for fair outcomes. Procedural justice is concerned with making and implementing decisions according to fair process, pero wala ngang prosesong klaro. So, fast track natin ito. Yan. Transparency is also very, very important when we talk about social justice. This is the process that are implemented should be transparent. Decisions should be reached through the open procedures without secrecy or deception. Alam na natin yung distributive justice. Kanina, sinabi na natin yan. Itong sinasabi ni Magsaysay affirms. For Magsaysay, take note, social justice is giving the poor a little cloth in his or her back, a little shelter on his or her head. So that's according to the definition of his thinker si Magsaysay. Social justice giving the poor a little cloth on his or her back and a little shelter on his or her head. Bakit nasabi niya ito? Because in the Philippines, there are a lot of poor people. A lot of Filipino who are poor. But the problem, hindi binibigyan ng pansin. Especially yung nasa upper. Especially to the politicians. Kaya nasabi niya ito. Si Jokno naman, his position may sinasabi din niya siya. Take note. Jokno said that those who experience more privation and who spend more effort in the production process should have more share of the profit. So, ibig sabihin, in a corporation, in a company, marami ka nang ginagawa. Dapat marami ning share. Pero anong problema? Limitado. Kaya nga equal wages nagka-problema. Ikaw nga nagpayaman sa kumpanya, ikaw pa ang pobre. So, ito yung punto niya. Then, question. Sabi nga, how would you look at the cash transfer program? And this will be your reaction or it can be a reflection. How would you look the cash transfer program, particularly the PDAP, the 4Ps, the SAP? So, tatlo lang siguro yan. Itong PDAP, alamin niyo ito ha. That will be your assignment. Apat. And itong International Development Organization donor program. Write your reaction. Reaction, focus tayo reaction on the so-called the cash transfer program like the PDAP. The PDAP is the pork barrel. The International Development Organization's donor program. Maraming nagdo-donate. You can react to that. The SAP at saka 4Ps. So, there are 4 program here. So, give the reaction on that 4 different programs, the international, the PDAP, the SAF, as well as the 4Ps. Na it's give a reaction on that. Siguro tag 10 points bawat isa para may 40 points tayo about this. So, do not forget that one. I'll give you that 4 programs, then give at least a reaction for 10 points. So that's 40 points. So with that, I hope you learned something about justice and social justice. If you have questions, you can email your question to the messenger, to the group chat. If none, just give me your output. Once again, the 4 program, the PDAF, the SAF, for Peace at saka International Development Organization donor program. Simply write your reaction. Is that clear? And with that, thank you very much for listening. God bless you all and mabuhay.